Hi, and welcome to New Boundary Technologies monthly webinar series. July's webinar is on Prism Suite 12.0. This is the newest release of the Prism Suite, and I'm just going to go over some of the major features and functionality that's been added to the Prism Suite console. So the first major feature that's been added is under the Security tab. We've given you the ability to fine-tune which roles can modify sensitive or mission-critical groups of computers. This feature request came from several of our customers. An example of why this is needed is one of our customers has help desk people who log into Prism to do legitimate tasks to solve computer problems, but they've occasionally inadvertently deployed something to a sensitive or critical system, and so the customer wants to be able to protect those systems to keep that from happening. So there's two ways you can do that. We've added this Secure Groups button, and if you open this up, these are all the configuration groups that were either manually added by myself in this case, or that were created automatically by Prism. So you can select any one of these groups, click on Properties, and then go up to Role Security. And here's all the roles that are allowed to interact with this group. And so here, in the case of the example I just gave, I might want to deselect Help Desk. I could deselect as many of these as I'd wish. But I can deselect the Help Desk, and that means that they have now been added as a non-member, so to speak, of that group. The other way to do it would be to select one of the roles themselves, go to Properties, and then go up to Secured Groups. As you can see, User Domain was the configuration group that I had just made a secure group against the Help Desk user. Here I could also add additional groups. Say OK. And now those additional groups have also been secured against this role. Another feature that we've added is in the direct client installation, we've now given you the ability to use alternate network credentials for the installation. This enables cross-domain direct installs as well as direct installs to computers in workgroups. So on the Assets tab, we've added several new features. First of all, under All Assets, all your assets will show, but we've now given you the ability to review assets, mark them as reviewed, and therefore once they're marked as reviewed, they won't show up under this new category of unreviewed assets. So once you've reviewed an asset, you can mark it as reviewed and it gets moved out of this view, so eventually you would get to the point where only new assets being discovered by Prism will show up in this list. And reviewing them are as simple as selecting one or more assets, right-clicking, and marking them as reviewed. And you can see that once they've been marked as reviewed, you also have the ability to mark them as unreviewed. Additionally, we've added this new category of by asset type. And by default, Prism creates these categories and automatically puts your assets into the correct category. You always have the ability to drag and drop from one category to another, and in addition, you can create your own categories. So, for example, I could create a category for iPads, and I can make that a mobile device, and now I could manually drag and drop assets into this category. We've also given you the ability to browse to the web page for an asset. Now this won't be applicable for all your assets, obviously, but for those assets that do have associated web pages, for example routers, switches, and even printers, this is a real easy way for you to get to that management piece of that asset without having to leave Prism. And finally, on the Asset tab, you can customize all objects in the Prism Suite console with hyperlinked user-defined fields, providing even more consolidation of asset information. So here I had already created a user-defined field named hyperlinks, and you could always do that. But now, if you hover your cursor over the Value Edit section, right-click, select Edit Value, we've now added this hyperlink option, which allows you to browse directly to a folder or a file, or you can do what I've done, which is just type in the URL of the web page that you want to be able to hyperlink to. And now I can simply click on that link and be directed, in this case, to New Boundary Technologies Support Knowledge Base. You can also create multiple hyperlinks using that same user-defined field. So here I've created a hyperlink to Dell's website. And you could do this for all the manufacturers of your assets, which works really well since we now have this new by manufacturer category. Prism, as it discovers the manufacturer being broadcasted by each of your assets, Prism will automatically create a category for that manufacturer. On the Licensed Units tab, we've added a per processor license type in addition to the per seat and per site. And we've also given you the ability to monitor your CALs. You can reconfigure and then unconfigure your selected license unit to potentially get an exact version match instead of just a close match. And finally, you can get reports from a simple right-click from the tree. When customizing an inventory hardware scan with additional WMI classes, you now have the ability to either select an existing category or you can create your own categories. The categories control in which section the new information will appear in this Hardware tab. And in the Channel Properties under Asset Management tab, we've added the knowledge base version of our PSID. All of the new features and bug fixes included in Prism Suite 12.0 are located in our Prism release notes. So please feel free to go to newboundary.com, select Support, Resource Library, select Release Notes, and the top option is Prism Suite 12.0 Release Notes. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at 1-800-747-4487. Thanks everyone for joining us for the monthly webinar, and hope to see you next month.